Hello everybody, today I'm going to show you all how to play Pre-Civilization Bronze Age. I'm going to be playing this on Cool Math Games, so apologies if there's a bunch of sudden cuts in between advertisements. I would get the Steam version, I don't have the money, but I will be covering how to play the Settler and the Chieftain version. The reason why I will not be covering the Deity version is because it's incredibly luck-based, and any sort of strategy there would rather be useless, frankly, because of how much RNG you need to pull through for this one. So we're going to start on Settler. Now, if you don't know how to play the game at all, I would recommend you click yes to the tutorial. I will show you briefly how to play the game. If you already know how to play, I recommend you skip ahead to the time shown on screen now. And here we go. So, this is your population. In the parentheses is how much population you gain every turn. This is how much food you have. So currently you are in a surplus because you have people working to get you the food. If you do not have a surplus, you have starvation, then people leave. This is the production. So you can see right now I have 0 production and I'm gaining 2.4 a turn. This is culture. I have 0 right now. I'm gaining 4.8 a turn. And the 0% thing is your threat level. So that means your percentage of being attacked. So your chance of being attacked every turn. So if this was 50%, I have a 50% chance to be attacked. These are techs. Essentially, you research these to get boosts on things like culture and production, unlock buildings, gain more food or culture or production. These are buildings, so the goal of the game is to build the wonder of the world right here. But you have to build all of these first and unlock the technologies for them as well as the production points to build them. These is the help stuff in case anything I said didn't make sense. And let's get right into it. So you obviously for the first few turns you want to put everyone in there because you don't have a threat level right now, which is really great for you. You're going to want to put every person into these fields for a little bit. Any new people show up, put them in the fields, and then turn 4 you should get a technology. You're going to want to research primitive animal breeding. Primitive animal breeding is better because it gives you more food per person. You can see if I downcrease these both to 2 people, this produces 7.2 food, and this produces 4.8 food. So you can see this produces more. Compared to farming, it's better, and the reason why you want to get a farming-focused thing, or food-focused thing, is because it allows you to grow your population very quick. This will allow you to be an aristocratic, semi-aristocratic family, which will decrease the culture, increase the culture, decrease the food income. Generally, you want to take this. There are a few exceptions, like if you just got attacked, then I wouldn't take it because you're gonna really need that food consumption because you just lost a bunch of people. In general, though, it's a pretty good event. I would take it most of the time. And another thing to note about this game is it's still RNG based. The dynasty thing I just got that says new dynasty trait, you will always get the peaceableness trait. That will be guaranteed. You will always get that one. Which means you will always get a plus 10 to food. What I just got there I should have done before. I got the mud brick, which gives me more population. I ran out of population. I was at my limit. Mud brick also unlocks mud brick houses, which gives you an extra 100 to population. Also notice the threat level. You see how it says high threat, but it's only a 13? I would, instead of reading the high threat and taking that as a high threat, I would read the percentage and take that however you think of it as. Because if you think 13% each turn is a high threat, it's really not. It's rather a low threat considering that there's only a possibility that you'll get a very high power army. Does that make sense? So I would read it as however much percentage you want to sacrifice. Now, if you really want to be careful, will it really be that detrimental for you to go below the threat level? No. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you have to go above the threat level. Do whatever makes you feel comfortable here. This is a very loose tutorial. It's not supposed to be do this, do this, do this, because the game isn't really based off of that. It's based off of RNG at its core. So this looks like a pretty good scenario. You really want to focus on food first, and then culture, and then production. In that order, generally. Unless you get immigrants, in which case you'd probably want to focus on housing and then production. But in general, focus on food first, then culture, then production. And generally that's a pretty good start for you. Now, I've researched all these texts. It's turn 23. If you haven't, that's alright. If you don't have all these texts by, let's say, turn 40, then you probably do want to restart. With these extra texts, I would either save them, or you could put it into production. With settler mode, I don't really see the need why you should put that into production. With chieftain mode, it's a bit harder, so I would understand, and I just got a failed attempt, so that kind of sucks. But if you do get attacked and you fail, if it's like really bad, then take some people out of production, maybe even someone out of religion, and just put it into food. Because again, food is the key to growing your population. You cannot afford having a small population. You absolutely cannot afford that. So raid the enemy. You may not get this scenario. It's a pretty rare scenario. I would generally go for wealth, but whatever is highest is pretty good. I would never go for their lands. It's a pretty useless one. It just gives you a +1 upgrade to a random thing in your civilization, which isn't really worth it. You could just use a production point for that, or a research point for that. So wealth is typically the option you want to do here. So as I'm putting more into food, you can see how the threat level every turn goes down slightly. That's why you want to get more people. The more people you have, the more warriors you have, the less your threat level is. So it would be really unmanageable if you had a very small growing population. Your threat level would just go higher and higher and higher. And that's mainly the reason why people get confused when they play this game. They think it's really difficult. It's difficult if you don't know what you're doing, but the main reason why people find it difficult is because of how the threat level goes higher and higher and higher if you don't prioritize your population. Now, the Bronze Age just happened, which means that's really good or not the Bronze Age, the Copper Age just happened, which is really great. This is where you're going to start detouring from food more towards production. You're not going to put everything into production, that'll come later, but you're going to start focusing more on it. So right now you only have 9 people. You're going to want to turn that up a little bit. Or I have 9 people. You probably have 7 because of events. So you still want to focus on having a growing population, but you want to focus more on production now, because this was last era. You only had to build these 3 buildings. This era, you have to build 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buildings, which is a lot more, and it's also a lot more production points. So that's another reason why I see people fail, is that they do well, but they don't prioritize production soon enough or well enough. So you might have extra research points. If you don't, then just do this in this order. You're going to want to do boat, or copperworking, metallurgy, polytheism, bread, and then stone brick construction. And the reason why is because, well, I'll just show you. So I'm going to take away everyone from these fields and from these pastures, and I'll put some of them back, but I just want to show you how well this is. So you see how I'm in starvation right now? Let's just throw a couple of people in here. You see how only 30 of those people caused me to go from a starvation to plenty of food? That's how powerful these boats are. You're going to want to throw every single man, woman, and child in your civilization inside of this river, because it is incredibly powerful. You're probably going to want to secondly put people in the pastures. I really wouldn't prioritize the farms anymore. They're not that useful in this point of the game. You're probably going to want to prioritize the river, the production, the pasture, and then maybe culture if you're running behind. But culture is sort of a self-paced thing that depends on how much culture you previously had. So I would throw some more people into production over here. And then you're going to see very quickly this threat level is going to go from 51 and it's going to drop way, way down. Yeah, it went from 51% to 12.4%. That is crazy. That's how good that boats are. They're enormously powerful. You're probably going to want to do stone brick construction, but look at your population. Look how much is growing. If it's growing steadily, but you feel like you can get another research point before you need to research this, and don't bother. So for me, I'm probably going to do trade. That's going to give me a bunch of culture and production, which will be awesome for the future. Again, I like to be kind of risky with the threat level. You don't have to be this risky. I like to go up to like 40 or 50%. I would recommend if you're pretty new to this game, you don't do that. I'd say probably like 20, 30%. But you do what makes you comfortable again, because it's really up to you. Now here, copper weapons aren't that useful. They don't unlock any buildings, and it's just a minor strength boost. So I wouldn't even research it at all. And you can if you're really in a pinch, or like if you get a war event. But I would prioritize veterinary medicine. It gives you 0.3 food per worker, which is awesome. It also gives you more people in the pastures. Now, you can see with culture, I didn't really prioritize it. I didn't really like put more than 2 people here. The reason is because I had such a surplus that on turn 45, I already have most stuff maxed. That's a very good scenario. It probably won't happen with you. It'll probably be a little less. You may have a surplus of research points, but it likely won't be as much as I had in my run. I had a very lucky run there. So instead, I would prioritize production, just like I would in a normal run. And I didn't really. That's unfortunate. So I just got attacked. I got a huge failure in the people. I got a setback. So it's unfortunate because stuff like this does happen. You get RNG that happens like this. What you're gonna want to do, prioritize food. Prioritize it, because you cannot afford to have a civilization without growing population. I've said that before, probably a few times already. You just can't. Like, I need to emphasize it. And it will suck, but you will rebound. Now, I got the wharf, which is a funny name. Once you get the wharf, you're gonna throw everyone into the river again. Every single person needs to be thrown into that river. I say that over and over, but it's just because it's so gosh dang profitable. You can really, get a bunch of food from this. So this is, I bet this threat level is gonna go down from like 41 to like 10 or something absurd like that. It went down to 6.9. That's crazy. That is Wow. Hey, VoiceOver Jardigan here. Just want to say that the reason why I didn't research the stone brick houses before the weapons is because I was struggling with population in that run. You probably will not struggle as much as I did, so generally I want you to research weapons last. Hope this helps. Um, yeah, that's really great. Let's see. So I'm gonna probably gonna prioritize some production here soon. Now keep in mind the Bronze Age or the Copper Age lasts from 40 to 80. So I'm at turn 52. I'm probably on good pace. Um, I'd say if you don't have the wharf by at least turn 55, it's probably a good idea to start prioritizing production a bit more. I think like you need to put a bunch of people in it. Like food, of course, needs to be your first priority, especially like fishing, but you need to like emphasize production in this era especially, because if not you're going to run way far behind, and that's not going to be very good for you. So here we got the temple, which is really good if you have people that worship. I do not, so you can see the difference in getting the temple versus not. Right now I have a 768 boost. Just by clicking that button once, it like basically adds a fourth to that. So you get basically double of what you got before just by getting 28 people here. Which is a little crazy, but that's why Temple is really good. Which is also why you want to prioritize the stuff that doesn't like on the surface give you stuff like trade, but when you read into it, it like hugely benefits you. So right now my threat level is doing pretty good. I think I want to prioritize religion a bit more just so I can get ahead when it comes to the Bronze Age. Again, I had a really good luck-based thing where I got a lot of research points very early, so I'm probably a bit ahead of you in terms of technology. You probably are likely close to finishing this tree, if not just finished, by turn 60, ideally. Maybe some of you might be a little further behind, some of you maybe not. Um, Generally, I would either get more levels into the ore or just save up for the I would also get another level of metallurgy. It's a fun word to say. That will just give you... You don't have to do this one, but I would recommend it, especially if you're on Chieftain. I'd recommend you get metallurgy. Because it just gives more people in production, and you're gonna need to prioritize that, especially. Now, as it stands right now, I have 3 buildings left, and I have 17 turns. So I believe that it's time that I need to prioritize production a lot more. And you can gauge how much you need to prioritize production by how many points you're gaining each turn and how much points things will cost. You can see that this I'll probably get in, what is that, like, I don't know, a few turns. And then this I'll probably get in like 10 turns. So once you see 10 turns and you see the era's ending in 17 turns, you're like, okay, I gotta speed this up a little bit. I gotta make sure I prioritize this a little bit because you know, you don't wanna fall behind at this era. This is like kind of the building blocks for the Bronze Age. The Bronze Age can be really easy if you do a really good Copper Age first. And another thing that the smithy, I think it's called the smithy, yeah, the smithy will do is it'll give you a huge production boost. So if you're like worried that, oh, I just barely got the smithy and I have a few turns left before the copper age ends, don't worry, it will give you a huge production boost. Now, of course, you should still probably prioritize it, but it will be a massive help to you. So at my current pace, I'll get this in 5 turns, which means I can probably lay off the production just a little bit, which is awesome. I can probably prioritize population now. If you get population limit, just get another level of stone brick housing. And then for the Bronze Age, which will happen in a little bit. I lost on attack. That's unfortunate. What's really unfortunate is that they took some land in the mountains. That kind of sucks. If they take land in the mountains, like at the very beginning of the Copper Age, I would honestly recommend just to restart. It's very doable to be able to push through that and still win the game, but it's going to be immensely difficult, especially if you don't know what you're doing. If you don't feel like you want to restart, that's fine. But I just know it's going to be a lot harder for you. We should be entering the Bronze Age next turn, which is exciting. And you'll see that threat level shoot up a little bit. It's at 18% now. Alright, so here's my guide. You're going to want to get Sail, and then you're going to rush down from Writing to Code of Law. If you're on Chieftain, I would do a slightly different route. Go to Bronze Working and then Writing in Code of Law. Just a very slight deviation. Then get Bronze Working. Get Currency, City Planning, Plow, and after that I'll show you. This will be the library, so that will give you a huge boost in culture, which will really help you in getting more in production soon. You're going to want to take a lot of people away from the fields and throw them in the river / production. This should be easier for production, not necessarily the easiest thing to do, because you're gonna have a lot of production points that you're gonna need to pursue. But it should be easier for you. So that's really unfortunate. I just got basically wiped out by the river. Despite my good RNG on research, I have not been getting very good RNG on attacks. Ideally, hopefully, you get better RNG with people attacking you, and hopefully you don't end up like my run is right now, where it's getting kind of caught behind because of the constant attacks. So notice how I'm not prioritizing monotheism, riding, and bronze weapons. I'm prioritizing this side mainly. The reason is this focuses on strength, and you can just change the amount of strength by just like rearranging and putting people into food and growing your population. And monotheism, ideally, if you've done my strategy, now there are exceptions because runs are RNG based, you probably will have a surplus of research points. I would say. Doing this strategy before, I would say you probably will have a surplus. If you have stuff left over, I would get writing first, and then monotheism, and then bronze weapons. So right here, I'm going to do a little check. There are 30 turns left, roughly, and I'm growing 18k points. So I need to check if this is going to be enough to finish the run. Now this might be a run where I don't succeed, but I believe I will, just knowing at how much I'm growing right now. So this, the second I get the mine, production will just skyrocket. It will get super, get a bunch of production instantly, which will really help. The road up to that will be kind of slow, unfortunately, but it is what it is. I got another level of boat because I feel like I am running low on people. I feel like the reason why this run is sort of not doing that well, and I really hope your run does better, otherwise that'll be kind of awkward on a tutorial video, is I got attacked a lot, and I got really bad RNG when it came to the strength of the army, which it happens, you know, but it was kind of unfortunate. So you'll notice even towards like the end part of the game, you see it just said 20 turns left. I'm starting to still kind of prioritize food just a little tiny bit. That's just because I'm noticing I'm not growing enough people yet. Generally, I just want to get as much people as I can, doing as much work as they can, so I can build this Wonder of the World and win the game. So, I am growing 60k points. So, that means that at this rate, I will build the walls in 3 turns, and I will build the Wonder of the World in 10 turns, which will be enough for the end of the game. However, RNG and events happen, so make sure that you don't overdo it, but you get enough so that you're over what you need. Alright, so now that you build the walls, it should be a lot easier. You're going to see the threat level, it's going to go way down. You can start putting a bunch of people into production now, hopefully, because that threat level just dropped to the basement. And now all you need is 500k production points. And you can see that at the rate that you're going, or I'm going to get that in 2 to 3 turns, which is awesome. I want to preface before I win this game that your run will not look like this. It will, I guarantee, will not look like this. It will go either a lot better or a lot worse for you. But generally, and there are cases where this doesn't happen, generally this run or this strategy does well. And you will get a victory. I didn't get a very good rating. You probably will get a better rating if you get better RNG.